Hey man, I got this great new game. It's called Rayman. So let's play, man. Not tomorrow or the next day, but today, man. Rayman. Okay, that's enough of that. If you're still with me, if you didn't click off the video after that incredibly cringe rap, whatever I just did there, thank you guys so very much for joining me. We're back with part 2 of Rayman Legends, my favorite 2D platformer of all time. I'm excited to hop into more of it. We're in World 2 Toad Story. Not that Toad, not that one. It's a different Toad. Ray and the Beanstalk. Let's get into it. This level's got some really pretty visuals. Last episode I was talking all about just how gorgeous I think this game looks, and this game, or this level, I think really captures that. We got this kind of desolate ruins area out in the middle of the swamp. We got these weird little alien creatures in the background that kind of look like a Virtual Boy. Does that not look like a Virtual Boy? If you don't know what that is, look it up. Nintendo's failed. Just look in the foreground. We've got this little mosquito buzzing around. Just all these different layers of depth. I love it so much. But then as we go on along, we got like two suns in the sky? I don't know what that's about. You also got this music that's like very like Eastern Asian, Oriental kind of a traditional thing going on. Very peaceful, relaxing, so I can get behind that. Got one of the big beanstalks from the titular Ray and the Beanstalk. But as we go on a little bit further, we'll get into the water, and it has a really neat effect. I think the water might be one of the few things besides the bosses that's like 3D animated and isn't just like a 2D like hand-drawn thing. But it's a really good effect though, so I think it works. Pretty much everything else in this game I prefer being 2D. But look at this water effect. Well, you got the ripples in it. That looks really cool. This puddle of water is not too deep, but as we go on, we'll get into some deeper water, and you can really see just like how, as you dive deeper and then get closer to the surface, just how it really shifts the perspective of the water. Just looks really, really cool. But you'll see that momentarily. But yeah, this game, I just think it looks so good because every level, it's really like a lived-in, breathed-in world where you can look back into the background. Like, look at those little fish jumping there, whatever they're supposed to be. Like, if you look at them real close, they're kind of disturbing. Like, everything in Rayman has kind of like a cursed, like, kind of almost memeable, kind of comically, like, weird proportions, kind of a lot of gross-out humor. Like the last episode, we had some mushrooms that when we stomp on them, they fart. They turn into fart clouds and make a noise, farting mushrooms. So Rayman is kind of, it's crude, it's gross, but it's also beautiful. Yeah, look under the water here. You can see all these little specks, these little particles of like, I don't know, plankton or algae, whatever this is supposed to be. And look at the surface of the water here. It looks, like from above, you've got the perspective, then as you dive down, and just how the camera shifts. So I really like the 3D surface of the water. I think it looks really, really great, juxtaposed against everything else in this level, which is 2D. Did I miss anything else back here? Okay, I guess not. I guess we're good. But yeah, like, so you got those guys, those little frog enemies back there, like living in those little tree houses, beanstalk houses, whatever it is. Like, it just really, the world building literally is so good in this game. Even though this game doesn't have like a story or anything, like you can really, like it feels like a real place. And it's like every frame of this game, like you can pause and look into the background. Maybe if you take away some of the goofy looking enemies like this guy, but just like focus on the background, and like it could be a painting, Because like again, if you look close, and I don't know how well it's conveyed on a low resolution, like when the video gets compressed on YouTube. Switch games are only 1080p. The resolution might be a little bit sharper if we were playing the PlayStation version of this game, which I did think about, because this game, by the way, is for free on if you're subscribed to the PlayStation Network. I know they've like changed the names and stuff, so I don't know. Whatever their most basic package is called now, I don't know if it's in that. Like, I have PlayStation Premium and I have it, but this is it was a PS4 game, so like whatever package has PS4 games, which I think is like the cheaper tier, I think the PlayStation Premium is mostly for like PS1, like classic games and stuff like that. So I think with the cheaper one, you would still be able to get this game. But yeah, they added it in like September of last year. I think they put it on there. So yeah, I replayed this game like about a year ago when they put it on there because I hadn't played it in, a few years, and it seemed like, it kind of gave me a good reason to go back and play it again. Now I'm doing this channel, so this is another reason to go back and play it. But yeah, this game is fantastic. If there's a way you can play it for free if you're subscribed to PlayStation Network, so like, you ain't got an excuse. I'm telling you, get out and play this game. If you're subscribed to PlayStation Network, you already have access to it. You're doing yourself a disservice by not playing it because it's so fun. It looks so beautiful. There's a ton of content for a 2D platformer. It feels like in a lot of ways, like a Mario or a Donkey Kong Country game, but it does a lot to forge its own identity and stand out, compared to those. There's secrets, like here there's a little hole. I bet you can see that little hole you can go in. There's secrets behind every corner and all these nooks and crannies. You got like a bajillion collectibles. It's just such a good game. The music's good. It's got co-op, so you can play it with your partner. If you got a spouse, if you got kids, you can play it with them. You can play with up to 4 players. 5 if it's the Wii U version, but nobody's playing that version. The person who's on the gamepad isn't going to have as fun of an experience as everybody else. But it's a darn good game. There's even like online leaderboard. There's like some single player competitions you can do that like rotate daily, and they're a lot of fun. I think they've still got the servers up on it, even though this game's like 11 years old at this point. But there's so many reasons to love this game, so play this game. Okay, yeah, we got all the teensies. Want to make sure we didn't miss any of these blue guys with the big schnozzes here. I guess those are noses, or just their head. I don't know. They're weirdly shaped creatures. I don't like them. Can we commit teensy genocide? Is that excusable? Just like slaughter every one of these people? Because they make me uncomfortable. And that's what we do to things that, we don't understand. We just slaughter them, right? It's in our genes. But their genes aren't going to pass on because we're committing eugenics against these weird blue freaks. It's giving Blue Lives Matter a whole new meaning. Okay, let's hop into this next one. We got Winds of Strange. Is that what this level is called? The Winds of Strange. It's another one where we got to take control of Murphy. Just kind of hit A and let him get some stuff out of the way for us, which again, it feels a little superfluous. It's kind of a weird mechanic. It doesn't make a lot of sense until you consider that this was a game made for the Wii U. So originally you controlled him on the gamepad, but it was just kind of cumbersome. So the Wii U version I would not say is the definitive way to play this game. It's more fun playing it on any other console because you actually get to... Because on the Wii U, you're only really playing like half of the Rayman Legends levels. The other half are kind of being played for you by an AI and not played very well while you guide them through it with the gamepad. So I would much rather it be like this where I'm actually in control. It's a lot less frustrating and it's a lot less boring. So it's like you design these really cool levels, but you're not going to let me actually like play it myself as Rayman or whatever character you play in it. But yeah, I was talking in the last episode, I brought this up very early on, and I didn't finish my point about this either. Last episode, I was just kind of all over the place talking about different stuff. But one of the things I brought up very early on in the video is that there's not been a new Rayman game at all in like 13 years. Not even like a remake or like a port. There's just not been Rayman anything in like 11 years. Did I say 13? I meant 11 years. I was thinking about where the game came out in 2013. So not since 2013, which is about 11 years. But there's been a lot of, where there's smoke, there's fire, and Ubisoft has pretty much confirmed that there's fire. So it's not even just smoke anymore. Yeah, so over the past couple years, Ubisoft, I forget the name of it, but they had like it was like an adult animated series, and like Rayman makes like a cameo in it, or maybe more than a cameo. I haven't watched it myself because it's kind of I think it's kind of pretty. Again, it's an adult thing. It's not kid friendly, despite having Rayman in it. It ain't for kids. It ain't rated everyone 10 and up like this game is. But it's got Rayman in there, and for whatever reason he swears like a sailor, and he has like a, I don't know if he's a pimp or what, but he's got like a very erotic looking, like, I don't remember if she's like a cow lady, I think. She's like a brown cow, and she's like laying like, I think she's like completely nude, and she's just like laying flat on her stomach as like a makeshift table, and Rayman is like eating sushi off of her naked back. It makes me very uncomfortable. Somebody enjoyed that a little too much, but somebody enjoyed animating that, I mean, and coming up with that design for that character and writing the script. Again, the French people over at Ubisoft, they're perverts, man. We'll explain a lot of allegations against the company too, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, we're going to die here because I kind of messed up on getting the purple there. I want to make sure I get those lumps to get the, because again, I talked about this last episode, but you want to grab the ones in the front and get them in order while they're purple, because that gives you twice as many points versus just collecting them by themselves. And if you want to get everything, if you want to, 100% every level, then you want to get at least 600 in regular levels, 300 for shorter levels, and really, really short levels, it might only be like 100, I think. But you want to reach a certain threshold of lums. And also, speaking of 100% completing things, I'm realizing we're missing a teensy somewhere, so we're going to have to replay this level. It's one of the big ones in the middle. So we missed a door somewhere we had to go through to do a little special challenge to get that guy or gal. I think one of them's like a king and one of them's a queen teensy or something. I don't know. I think we got the queen but missed the king, or vice versa. I don't know. But yeah, we'll hop into the level and we'll go through it real quick and get the one that we missed. 668. We were almost satanic there, but not today, Satan. Not today. But yeah, we'll get back in there. We'll grab that one real quick. We'll get out. What is it that the Grinch says? I'll show up. I'll bag up all the popcorn shrimp and then, or all the jumbo shrimp, and then get out of there. Something like that. He says. I don't remember. Jim Carrey's great. The Grinch, he kills it. Dr. Robotnik in the Sonic movie, he kills it. But so yeah, they had, this was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They had the Rayman cameo or whatever in the cartoon. Once again, I was getting sidetracked there. Then you had Rayman appearing in the DLC as a playable character for the most recent Mario and Rabbids game a couple years ago. And now you have, I think just recently they came out with like I think they did like a crowdfunded thing for a, was it here? Is this what we missed? Might have been. Yeah, I don't think we got this last time. But yeah, I think they had like a Kickstarter campaign or something for a Rayman like board game or something like that, which has some really cool looking like Rayman like figurines that are like the pieces you move. And I kind of want to get the board game just to put those figurines on my shelf because they look pretty well made. But yeah, it always kills me when like these, million bajillion dollar companies resort to like crowdfunding, because it's like, you've got the money. Why are you making us pay for you to make a product for us to pay for it again when it comes out? Just make it. Just, I don't know. I don't get it. That's always bothered me. I don't like it when like, I understand if it's like an indie team, like you've never made a video game before or whatever you're raising money to make, and it's like you're an independent developer, it's like a one-man project, or it's a small team of people who aren't working with an established company. But if it's like a Ubisoft who releases like AAA bajillion-dollar games like every year, big massive open world games like Assassin's Creed and stuff, like, come on, like just finance it yourself. It's gonna be really embarrassing if it turns out that that Rayman game wasn't actually that the board game wasn't actually like crowdsourced or whatever. I'm thinking it was, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But either way, though, the important thing to take away from it is they did make a Rayman board game, which is for sale. So even though Ubisoft hasn't made a Rayman game, just over the past few years, they've really been like pushing Rayman weirdly kind of hard for an IP that they've just been kind of neglecting. It's like you think, what's the point of that unless you're planning to do something with it? But Ubisoft has come out recently and have said, and I think they kind of did it now because they've been having a lot of bad press, so they wanted to have kind of like a good news story to put in the middle of everything, but that they are working on some sort of a Rayman revival. They haven't disclosed what that is, if it's going to be a new game. I've heard a lot of rumors it's going to be a remake of an old Rayman game, or it's going to be maybe a Rayman 3 remake specifically, which would be kind of weird because I feel like Rayman 2 is the one that people like the most, but I don't know. I actually just recently beat Rayman 2 for the first time. I played the 3DS version, which, you know, maybe not the greatest way to play that game because it's got a lot of frame rate issues, it's got some audio issues, but I thought it was okay. But if they did a remake, I think they could fix a lot of stuff. What I would love to see is, you know, if they were to do a remake of all three of the original, like, Rayman trilogy of games, you know? So Rayman, Rayman 2, Rayman 3, and I think they could call it, I think this is genius, you know, you've got Spyro Reignited trilogy, you got the Crash Insane trilogy. Usually they're puns, you got Reignited because Spyro breathes fire. Let's restart that because we missed that guy we needed to save. This is the one that's got that very Harry Potter sounding music that I talked about on the last, the previous episode. That na 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 na. And then when it gets going, it gets even more. Okay, we're gonna have to go quicker than that. Oh, you almost had it. Got to be quicker than that. I remember some memes after the 2016 election. I think I might have had it saved on my phone. Of they had like the White House on a stick, and it was like Hillary Clinton, and that guy from the commercial where they got the dollar bill and the you know, on the fishing line or whatever. Oh, you almost had it. But anyway, all right, we got that. What was I talking about? Rayman. Yeah, so I think Ubisoft has been having a lot of bad press, so I think they only really broke the news to kind of, you know, have a positive news story. But yeah, okay, that's right. I was talking about, I get so easily sidetracked, it's hard to keep up with my thoughts. The wheels just keep on turning. And this is my third video I've recorded, like, in a row, and, like, I can feel it in my lungs. I'm getting very, well, not even winded, but it, like, my chest feels like sore. I've been talking so much. Like, I'm a very introverted person. I don't talk a lot. That's why my channel's called an Intintrovert. So yeah, my lungs are getting a lot of exercise that they're not used to. My jaw flapping. Sometimes I've recorded videos on this channel and it's like my jaw get tired or like my throat gets sore because I'm just not used to just talking consecutively like this. Here we got a pretty neat level. It's kind of like up in the clouds. Like a Jack and the Beanstalk sort of thing. We had a previous level called Ray and the Beanstalk, but this seems like a more fitting one to have that name. But yeah, so you got the Spyro Reignited trilogy, right? You got, because Spyro he breathes fire, so reignited. You know, like you ignite flames. Makes sense. You got the SpongeBob Rehydrated series. SpongeBob Rehydrated game makes sense because SpongeBob, he's underwater, so, you know, rehydrated. It makes a lot of sense. You got other examples of this. You got the SpongeBob, or I mean, you got Pac-Man World Repack, which we just played on the channel, which I don't fully get that one because, like, what's a repack? Repackaged, that's something, but repack doesn't really. I don't think repack is a word, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever. But they always kind of try to go for this, like, re-something and make it sort of a pun or a play off something. So I really want them to remake the first three Rayman games. They call it Rayman Raymastered trilogy. I think that's a perfect name. Rayman Raymastered. I'd buy the heck out of that. The first 3 games. The first one is a 2D platformer like this game, so it could be done, you know, in the same UbiArt engine. They could probably reuse a lot of the same assets for this game into that one. Then Rayman 2 and 3, they would have to make all new assets because those games are like fully 3D. They're 3D platformers, so it's not 2D like this game is. But, you know, although this is my favorite 2D platformer, and, you know, I played Rayman 2. I thought it was pretty good. It's a 3D platformer. I didn't like it nearly as much as this game. 3D platformers are still my bread and butter, so if they did like a full-on remake of Rayman 2 and 3, Rayman 3 I've never played. Heard it's maybe not quite as good as 2, but you know, if they like remake it, and then like if it paves the way for like a Rayman 4 someday, because there was supposed to be one. I don't know a whole lot about Rayman 3, but I do know it breaks the fourth wall toward the end, and that Murphy, our little helper frog guy in this game, and that one he's actually voice acted. He's voiced by Billy West, I believe, who I think is going to be at a comic convention maybe sometime early next year that's relatively close to me, so that'd be kind of neat to go there. I mean, he did the voice of like a bunch of 90s characters. He did like Ren and Stimpy. Well, after the original voice of Ren got replaced, who was the show's creator, John Kay, because he did very bad things. As far as we know, stuff that's like worse than anything that we know for sure about Dan Schneider. So, you know, yeah, Nickelodeon's got a troubled past. We'll say that. Hopefully, not still a troubled present, but a lot of stuff has happened at that company that's just, you know. Even if they never condoned it, then like they sure didn't do anything to stop it or evidently empower people, especially kids working on these shows, to come forward about it. Because, yeah, talk about Ubisoft having bad press recently. Nickelodeon, whew. Anyway, I don't really like talking about that sort of stuff too much, so let's get off of that and go back to something a little bit more wholesome and lighthearted, shall we? What was I saying before that? I felt my voice going out. I'm forgetting things that I was going to say. I'm suffering from early onset dementia or Alzheimer's or something. I don't know. Short-term memory loss, long-term memory loss, diarrhea. If you were a loved one who suffered from any of these symptoms, you could be entitled to compensation. Call our attorneys at Baskin and Robin. Call J.G. Wentworth. 877 cash now. 877 cash now. But what was I going to say? Okay, we're going into more of a storm here. It's kind of neat how like kind of the dynamic changes to the background. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have something else I was going to say. Maybe I finished my point. I was talking about Nickelodeon. What brought that up? Why was I talking about Nickelodeon and the child abuse going on there? There had to have been a reason. That had to have been relevant to something. Well, speaking of abuse scandal, then again, I don't want to stay on this long, though, because I don't really like talking about it, but apparently Michel Ancel, I think is how you pronounce the guy's name, who created Rayman, I don't fully know if I guess he resigned. I don't know if he resigned or was let go from Ubisoft because there was some allegations of like a very toxic work environment, you know, with him, where he could be, I guess, kind of hateful and controlling and maybe work his employees too hard. You know, or the people under him working on projects like Rayman games or whatever. And evidently that's part of the reason that he resigned or was let go. And I guess those are substantiated claims. Like, I guess there was some legitimacy to them, but I think there was also some claims of abuse against women, we'll say. Okay, let's restart that because I didn't get the. But those have been less substantiated. So whether or not it's legit or not, like stuff like that, like we have the court of law for a reason. Innocent till proven guilty. So I think you look at stuff like the Me Too movement, and I think it was very impactful for a lot of women, encouraging them to come forward and share their stories. But to me, I don't know. I kind of think someone who would lie about it, because that does happen. Let's not be like naive about it, I think there's also people have hijacked that movement and fabricate allegations about people to ruin their lives, because you just want to see them suffer, or you're hoping to get a settlement out of it, or maybe it's politically motivated, like because they've got a vendetta against this person because if they're the power that they hold or whatever, and wanting to shut them down. But if you make allegations about something like that and they're not true, then it's very damaging to the guy, the man that you're falsely accusing. Like, in a lot of ways, I feel like it takes away your sense of dignity and self-worth in ways that a woman would feel if she had suffered that. But more than that, like, you're also, like, not only are you hurting the men that you falsely accuse of that, and potentially ruining their lives, destroying their reputations, and causing them to possibly have to serve jail time, shatter their family if they got like a wife and kids and stuff, just because you don't like them or you're wanting 10 seconds of fame. But you're also making it harder for like legitimate women who have suffered these things to like come forward, because they don't want people to like not believe them. And the reason that people don't always believe is because you do have people who would lie about it. So in an ideal world, people wouldn't assault people to begin with. But also in an ideal world, everybody could believe everybody, because nobody would lie. So when you do stuff like that, like I just think that's you're not a real woman. You're a disgrace to women if you would be willing to do stuff like that, to lie about something so horrible happening to you when it didn't. Whatever your reason, whether it's money, attention, or for revenge, like, So I don't know. So I don't want to, the Michelle Ancel guy, I don't want to spread any false rumors about it. But there had been a lot of stuff about him, being abusive to women. But unlike some of the other claims about him being kind of a toxic guy to work with, because that's two very different things. You should be good to the people who are working under you, and I don't condone, poor working environments. I left my job fairly recently because of the way that I was gaslit by my former employer, in ways that like were really shocking to me. Like she accused me of like yelling at her when I never did any such thing, and then like just escalated from there. And she like, I don't know, it was a lot. I don't really want to go into it, but it was it did a number to my mental health. There was like for a good couple days I couldn't eat. So like, toxic employers, I can't get behind that at all. I'm not trying to defend that, but it's still not on the same level as like, robbing someone of their bodily autonomy, so I don't know. Not saying he's a saint, but I also don't want to, accuse them of anything extra heinous when, like, they've not really. I don't think there's really, to my knowledge, been any evidence about it, so I don't know. Everything in life you just kind of have to take with nuance and not. It can be hard, but don't develop a preconceived bias based on who you are or even what society said, because, like, whether, if you're. I think if you're a guy, it can be easier to empathize with other men, and if you're a woman, it can be easier to empathize with other women. But you just have to be careful with that. If you're, because that can easily lead to misogyny, or equally as bad, misandry. I guess is how you say it. The sex-based discrimination of men by women, because that does happen. Look how you can see the little water droplets up there. That's so neat. I love all little stuff in this game. But some people will say, like, oh, well, like, and this is going into some pretty deep, serious, probably controversial political stuff here. But some people will say, like, losing my train of thought. Here comes the Harry Potter music. Da, 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 da. I'm trying to, it's hard because it's like I gotta focus, but I also want to choose my words carefully because I don't want to, like, there's a right way to word certain things and I don't want it to be misconstrued or anything like that. But, people will say, like, whether it comes to, like, racial issues or with sex, like, people will say, like, say, for example, say a white person, for example, can be, a non-white person can be prejudiced against white people, but they can't be racist by definition because they say the definition of racism is a systemic thing, which isn't actually the definition of racism. That's just something that people came up with. Or for, like, sexism, that, like, well, a guy can be, if a guy's sexist, it's worse than a woman being sexist because of who has the power and all this stuff. But, like, you got to be careful with that. That's like a dangerous game to play because, like, I feel like every group ever has always seen themselves as the victim throughout history and everybody else is the oppressor, Like, I mean, if you look at, and I'm not trying to compare the state of the world today or anything like that to, like, atrocities that have happened, but it's just a dangerous slope to go down. If you look at, like, people who had strong anti-Semitic beliefs during, Germany in, the early 30s, people believed, whether it was, substantiated or not, a lot of people believed that Jews, had all the power, that they controlled the banks, that they controlled the media, and all this stuff, So when you get convinced that somebody else, regardless of who, whether it's, black, white, male, female, straight, gay, Christian, atheist, Muslim, that, like, they have all the power and they've been oppressing you, like, it can be very easy to go from. It's a very fine line between pursuing justice and equality and fairness for everybody versus becoming the oppressor that, that you say you're fighting against, Like, I mean, and this is all deep, but, like, whoever's in power, because, like, they say, like, oh, well, such and such group of people, they've been, calling the shots for the past 200 years in, America or whatever country, but power dynamics can change very rapidly, and, when they do, then I don't know. Again, it's a lot. I don't know why I'm talking about this and a Rayman thing, but like, you know, I just think you have to be careful with that. Just try to consider other people's points of view and perspective, and don't automatically make an assumption based on the person's race or sex, whether it's because they're a majority or they're a minority. You know, you got like phrases like during the Me Too movement and things about like, you know, believe all women. And it's like, again, like innocent until proven guilty. Like if someone comes forward and, you know, says that they were abused, then, you know, we shouldn't just dismiss that and say like, oh, they're making it up. But we also shouldn't be like, you know, yeah, they're right. This guy, you know, even though there's no evidence, let's make his life a living hell and try to make him lose his platform and ruin his marriage, and, you know, cause him to develop self-harm tendencies because, you know, you've made his life and reputation so bad to the point where he just doesn't even want to live anymore. Like, you know, don't make assumptions like that, you know. So just take everything. You know, we have due process of the law for a reason, so people need to stop. And, you know, obviously the court system isn't perfect, but like, we gotta quit being judgmental when we weren't appointed to the role of judge, you know. Like they say, you know, if you see something, say something, report it, go to the plea, whatever, if you've got a substantial, but like, you know, you might mean well, but really, if you don't have the whole story and you just got somebody's side of things, like, you know, what they're telling you might not be the truth. And that goes for men, for women, you know, white, black, whatever, you know, straight, gay, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, there's a lot of bad people in this world and bad people in all groups, all demographics. And, you know, don't overcorrect and think that, is there something down here? Is this death? That's death. And think that, like, well, because systemically, you know, this group has been more oppressed throughout history and this one hasn't. Don't think that that can't change, because, like, you look at, you know, the time between World War II up to now, and, you know, the Axis powers, you know, Japan was an aggressor in that war. They invaded China, you know, forget Pearl Harbor, like they invaded China, you know, they killed a lot of innocent people on, you know, Chinese shores, like on the mainland or whatever. I don't know how, you know, how far in they got, but I think it was more kind of on the outskirts, I guess, of China. I'm not the biggest history buff, but you know, they were oppressors, they were instigators in that war. They committed a lot of war crimes. They did terrible things to the Chinese women, to Korean women also, who were forced into slavery of an explicit kind. But Japan today is not the Japan of then, you know. And nowadays, China, who was the, you know, oppressed, the victims, you know, one of many, many, many groups of people who were victims in World War II. And in a lot of ways now they are, you know, kind of the oppressors, because power dynamics change, new people get into power. You know, you have different political, social, religious, racial, whatever else movements, and the dynamics change. So I don't think it's fair to say, like, well, such and such can't be prejudiced or bigoted or whatever, or well, they can be prejudiced but not racist against this group of people because it's systemic or whatever. I need to quit. This probably isn't entertaining. People just want to watch me play. Just watch me play Rayman. It's episode 2. See, if I at least reeled you in, it's like you've been watching 5, 6 episodes and you really want to see it to the end, but you've not committed that much by episode 2, and now I've just gone into politics and you're just like, I'm headed out the door. But I don't know. I hope other people can see where I'm coming from, and it's not just like a, you know, but the problem with saying, you know, such and such can't be this way because of systemic so and so, you know, the system can change on a dime. I feel like, you know, some things might take hundreds of years, you know, for certain things, but especially today with like the advent of the internet and just how quickly you can share information, like revolutions and movements, just I feel like can happen so much more quickly now than they used to. Just awarenesses of things, and so, you know, injustices, things that were easier to sweep under the rug hundreds of years ago that you can't really do so much now. And also just the idea, I guess, of having to, I don't know. I don't want to go on a whole lot more with it. I don't know why I'm talking about this when we're just playing Rayman. I started this video doing a cringy, stupid rap, but I just want to see people get along, you know, and just regardless of background, regardless of whatever, you know. So, I don't know. I don't know why I went into that big long thing. Where am I going? We did unlock a, okay, yeah, we went back into the first world there because we unlocked a time trial level we could do. Had to beat it within 40 seconds, I think it was, to get the gold trophy, and we got it. We got another one here, Castle in the Clouds, so let's do this one. Now, these are called invaded levels, so it's these time trials that'll have like a unique layout, but they also have like the enemies from another world come over into this one. So yeah, we've got these enemies who typically only show up in World 1 of the game, which is kind of the medieval castle-y world we were in, but now they're showing up here. So that's kind of neat, just to kind of see different enemies from different worlds in new environments. But yeah, I don't know. I'm done with my spiel that I was going on there, but kind of the thesis of that whole thing is just, you know, people who have been oppressed throughout history, you know, there's a proven pattern that they don't always stay oppressed. They can also become oppressors if they're not careful. And it's something that everybody just has to be mindful of, I think, and why we need to be careful about over-correcting transgressions from the past and previous generations. If you're not careful, the you know, the line can get muddied and it can become a spiteful, vengeful thing, and less about justice and equality and more about getting back at a group of people because of atrocities committed by not themselves but people who came before them, who in many cases they might disavow those people that they may or may not be descended from, but you know, and it can create more animosity within those groups and just be a continual struggle for power if you know, if a person's not careful. So I don't know, I just wish this world had a lot more empathy and understanding, and I don't know, not make assumptions about entire groups of people, and I don't know, I ain't your pastor. I don't know why I'm preaching to you. Oh shoot, no, I'm gonna miss the, oh, that, we were so close. Okay, let's do it again. We gotta get there within 40 seconds. But yeah, that's my spiel. Just one other example, like, you know, real quick, but just I was talking about the Japanese and the Chinese. You know, you've got obviously, you know, the Jews that were victimized during, you know, the tragedy of the Holocaust, which, you know, is probably the darkest period in recorded human history that we know of. I wouldn't doubt that in ancient times there were things as bad or worse that maybe happened that we just don't have a written record of, that's lost to time. I don't know. Maybe not on the same sheer number of deaths, just because, you know, the world's population has exponentially increased. You know, so maybe at that time, maybe, you know, maybe 6 million people, like, you know, the number of Jews that died in the Holocaust, that might be more than what was even alive back then, but that doesn't mean that what they did wasn't any less horrific, you know, as far as eliminating entire groups of people and all that stuff. But, you know, you got that, but then you have a lot of people who, you know, believe that Israel is committing a genocide of their own right now, against the Palestinian people, and so again, just power dynamics constantly shift, and if you've been victimized at one point in history, your people or whoever, don't think that you're immune to eventually becoming oppressed, because you got good and bad people everywhere, and I don't know, racism or sexism, whatever kind of discrimination, is not limited to one ethnic group or one sex. It's not just men or just whatever. It's just a human nature trait. Anybody and everybody is capable of it. So don't think yourself immune, and that you couldn't be guilty of some of those things, So I don't know. Like we call people, like, say, Nazis, we'll refer to as monsters, but when we call them a monster or something other than human, it puts distance between us and them, and it makes us feel comfortable thinking that they're almost like they're another species from us, that we could never be that, But when you call them, like when you refer to them that way, or refer to whatever group of people as monsters, not saying that what they did wasn't horrific and monstrous, but it can make you forget that because you're human every bit as much as they are, you might not think it, but you could still, we're all capable of doing the horrific things that Nazis did when you get right down to it. And you don't want to think about that. We like to think that we're better than that, but that's where we all just have to be diligent, I think, and not be afraid to be introspective and look inward. And look at the background. I love the way the water looks down there, and just, I don't know, it looks good. But so I don't know, and I don't want anybody to say I'm not being like a Nazi sympathizer or anything like that. That's not my point. It's like that, we should see them as more human. If anything, I'm saying we should see ourselves as more monstrous, because those Nazis, whether we like it or not, they're the same species of creature that we are, so I don't know. I think everybody... See, I said I wasn't going to talk about this anymore, and here I am. But I think everybody throughout history... No one has ever... I don't know if there's ever been anybody to say, like, yeah, I'm on the wrong side of history, because if you really believe that, then you wouldn't commit atrocities and you wouldn't do terrible things. Everybody, regardless of your political beliefs or whatever, everybody thinks that they're on the right side of history. So if you believe that, then there's not anything that you wouldn't do to achieve that goal, that pursuit that you believe that is righteous, is just. So if we don't want to be like Nazis, then we have to be very careful to not fall into the same thinking patterns and think that, like, my hatred is justified because this group of people has been oppressing us and they have all the power, and they therefore I have a right to harass them or attack them or whatever, because a person can become radicalized by that ideology and become the very thing, whether consciously or unconsciously, that they claim to be so strongly against. And again, that just fosters more animosity to where you may set up for, you know, people who are, you know, who look like you or have the same, you know, geographic location as you. If you go from being victim to the oppressor and victimize people who belong to the group that once oppressed you, then that's going to build animosity, and then they're going to start oppressing you again. Like, it just becomes an endless cycle of hate. So we gotta just end it somewhere. And oh my gosh, I keep dying to this cartoony boss fight. So I don't know. I shut up now. I've said that like 50 bajillion times, but this time I'm really shutting up. I'm really gonna do it. More of the story. Don't be a Nazi. That's what it all boils down to, I guess. Be introspective and don't be afraid to look within and ask yourself difficult questions. Oh! Alright, now we had that serious conversation and we finally killed the frogman in his underpants. So now I'll be able to sleep soundly at night. Got this dude. Can't get away, buddy. Let's give him a good old-fashioned spanking. There he goes, flying past the clothes hanger constellation and the flying pig and landing in the moon, and now he's going to get poked by multiple alien satans, I guess. See, this is like the most nonsensical game for me to be playing when I go into this deep philosophical, political tangent or whatever. So, apologies for that. I'm going to try not to do that anymore moving forward in this playthrough. But, yeah, we did it. That's another level in the books. So I guess we got the music level for this world, and then I guess that'll be a wrap. So let's see. Yeah, because we beat the boss. I think that's like the only boss in the game, but let's get back to talking about the game. The only boss in the game, except for like the Rayman Origins ones, the ones specifically for Rayman Legends. Excuse me. That's not CG, or well, it's not, you know, 3D animated, but it's actually 2D. But let's do our music level. These are always a highlight of the worlds. I enjoy doing these auto-scroll music-y levels themed to various different copyrighted musics that they got the rights to. This one, I don't know if this is some kind of like classical. This might be public domain if it's like a, I don't know. Doesn't really sound like Mozart or like Beethoven, I don't guess, but something kind of like a historic, like classical. You think a powdered wig schnobs, you know, listening to this in a amphitheater, and the women's got the girdles on real tight that cause them to like pass out because it's like squeezing their figure in unnatural hourglass shapes, and got people wearing the white powder that's got lead in it that's causing them to go crazy and die. Something from that era. It's kind of what this music sounds like. Now that we got real morbid. World 3 is going to be a good musical one when we get to that. Oh, can we redo that? Or we might have already got the checkpoint. Okay, no good. Because I think if we want to get enough lums, we have to get all of those purples, which is a little tricky to do. Where am I? Am I back to before? Or no? I don't know. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here we're about to do the jump. Dang it, I missed it again. See, I'm getting the second line, but the first line I'm not getting the purple. So let's do it one more time. Hopefully this will have it. Later on we will have to do this music level again, and we have to do it in one go. There's no I don't think anyways, from what I remember, you can't restart from checkpoints, and they do stuff where they like mess with the screen and like distort it and make it where you can barely see. to really test you. There we go. That's good. So that'll be a little tricky. Look, you can see it's hard to see where I'm running, but like you can see where like the on the beanstalks there, where the individual water droplets are splashing down. I think there might have been some lightning in the foreground. That looks really neat. You can see like the leaves, the way the water was dripping off of it. It looks so good. There's so much detail. I think they don't do it on the Switch version, I guess because it's lower resolution. The PlayStation version, I guess, is 4K, but like you can pause and you can like zoom in, but like there's just so much articulate little minuscule details that just make this game look so good. But that's another world in the wraps. Let's see if we unlock any other time trial levels or anything like that. I'm guessing not. Hey, we did it! Okay, let's do our scratchy things. So we'll scratch these, and then we'll end off the episode. But yeah, we got 13, so we'll be scratching for a hot minute here. We got an insatiable itch. Rescued another one of these derpy little creatures. I guess before we end the video, we could show off the weird little creature room. They're very nonsensical. I don't know why it's a thing in the game. I guess just to be funny and weird and random. But yeah, there's like different animal, like pet species, but what, like there's like toasts is one of them, and then like I don't know, they're all just weird. I'll show you here in a second. Prataf. I don't know what these names are. What was this one? Elig. I don't know if these names are supposed to. Oh, I want to show that off before we end the episode. We might start with that on the next episode. We'll bring that into the level with us. We unlocked Glob Plumber, and I think another. We got Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It's Blue. That's a good show. You know, that show's getting a reboot by the original creator. Well, it's not really a reboot so much as it's, I guess, a spin-off, you would say. Which on paper sounds exciting. It's like, oh, they're bringing back Craig McCracken. The guy who did, because he made Powerpuff Girls, he made Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, he made Wander Over Yonder, which I never really watched that on Disney, and then most recently he had a series on Netflix called Kid Cosmic, but he's coming back, he's doing more Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and that sounds exciting, but it's targeted at like preschool age kids, so it's not like the Fosters that we grew up with, so it's, yeah, it's for a much younger demographic. Well, I mean, either way it would be for a younger demographic than me because I'm a grown adult, but I like watching family animated series because it's good. You know, there's a lot of them that have jokes that resonate with adults and then have good writing and, you know, good plot and story and all that stuff. I mean, my favorite show of all time is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which you could write off as a kid's show, but it deals with heavy topics like genocide and, you know, racism and all that fun stuff. Not actually fun, but you know. And really, I think Avatar kind of helped shape a lot of my political and personal views, honestly, as far as taking things from, you know, considering things from multiple angles. You know, like how the show teaches that, you know, not everyone in the Fire Nation is bad, not to, you know, even if a group of people has been guilty of committing terrible things, like, I mean, they literally genocided, like, all of Aang's people. You know, he had no family left. This means nothing to you if you've never watched Avatar. You have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, look at we got the balloons. It's like a three-eyed monstrosity. We got the toasts. These are pets here. The ghosts. Rhymes with toast. It's like SpongeBob. Ghost, ghost, ghost. And then the guy's just like, toast. We got the pigs. What were these? Oh, that was the ghosts. The robots. And we have none of these yet. But yeah, so you can visit them every day, and then you get a few lums from them. It's kind of pointless. This is where all the levels from Rayman Origins go. Kung Foot. Just a little soccer thing. It's kind of, I guess, a neat little thing, but it's not really, you know, you can play competitively with your friends if they're over, but it's not like super deep. And I think they expanded on it for the Switch version. I don't know exactly what they added, but yeah, Avatar is such a good show, but it's a kid's show, you know. That's what it was intended to be anyways. A family show, I guess you could say. But you know, it doesn't change the fact that it's phenomenal. Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about, the foster home for imaginary friends, but it's a different target demographic. But anyway, I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's late. Listen, I started recording this video at it was after 3 in the morning. It's currently 4:23 a.m. So I'm talking nonsensical. I think I'm getting sleepy. I kind of want to eat about before I go to bed though, so I might get me a little snack. Then I'll probably wake up choking with like terrible reflux, and man, that's terrible. Have you ever done that? Woke up and you're like you can't breathe for like a good 15-20 seconds because like your airway is like shut itself so you don't aspirate and you're just gasping like anyway, thank you guys so very much for watching. And yeah, something I did want to say real quick, just because where I did get a little deep talking, kind of, you know, in some ways a little political, not like super deep, but you know, if anybody takes offense or anything to anything I said, like, I'm just a guy with opinions on the internet, you know. If you think that what I say about, say, whether or not non-white people can be racist or something like that's fine. Like, I'm just a guy, you know. And so, like, don't take everything I say as gospel. I'm not trying to pretend I'm like an all-knowing guru on anything, but you know, there's a lot of political division, and we got to be willing to just like talk things out and just have an honest conversation. People probably aren't here for politics; it's just for entertainment purposes. And you know, but you know, starting a YouTube channel is something I've wanted to do for years. But the biggest thing keeping me held back is just fears about cancel culture and things like that. Like I was saying earlier, we got to have empathy with people. And I think everything is about intention. If you're coming from a good place, like my aim isn't to offend anybody or to ostracize or alienate anybody or be part of the problem. But you know, if we want to be part of the solution, then I think it's important to have open, honest conversation, because our nation's very divided right now. You know, I'm recording this very shortly after the most recent presidential election, where the Republicans had like a clean sweep. You know, that just happened about a week ago at the time of recording, if that. This is November 11th. So yeah, I think almost, it was at the 5th. Was that election day? So, you know, we gotta quit harassing and targeting people who think differently across, you know, if you're liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, I don't care. You know, I want this channel to be a safe space for everybody. So, you know, if you are, let's say, for example, if you're black or, you know, you're some other, you know, Asian or Hispanic or whatever, and, you know, you disagree with me that, you know, being prejudiced against white people is not the same thing as being, you know, racist toward that. Like, you know, just have an open, honest conversation about that, you know, and try to be as non-judgmental as possible. And like, I can listen to your perspective, and you know, I share mine, and you know, maybe we can come to a mutual understanding. But if you just harass and demonize everybody and just like, you know, because that's the beautiful thing about life, is that we're a diverse people and we all have our own unique lived subjective experiences. But that's enough philosophy. I'm going to shut up now. But thank you guys so very much for watching, and I hope I will see you on the next episode. I'll try not to go into a big, long political thing next time. I really don't want to. I want this just to be kind of for fun. But nonetheless, thank you all anyways. Hopefully you stuck around to the end and didn't get bored with all of my... preferably you didn't get offended, but I don't want you to get bored with me talking deep political stuff either. But yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Hopefully, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Because again, I do want it to be a safe space for everybody. I don't care if you're, gay, straight, transgender, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian, Hispanic, Native American, Arab, Middle Eastern, Muslim, Christian, atheist, Jewish, male, female, non-binary, whatever. I just want everybody to feel safe and included and welcome, and again, if you're a liberal, conservative, whatever. So I hope I can foster that sort of a community here. It's really taken a lot for me as someone who's with a lot of anxiety issues to step out and do this whole YouTube channel and accept that in the world that we live, everything you say is going to get scrutinized. My Switch is falling asleep, just like that guy in the background's falling asleep there. But I'm trying to just persevere and power through it. And if people say or think whatever about me because of what I think about certain things, that's their prerogative. And I spent some time in therapy, and I had a therapist tell me once, which was really resonated with me. It was insightful. What other people think about me is none of my business. And that really resonated. So I want to try to learn to embody that, even though it's harder. It's easier said than done. It's very hard to do that. But, to not live so fearfully of, say, cancel culture or things like that. Because, again, if my intention isn't to offend or hurt anybody, because I would never want to, at the end of the day, we're all just trying our best and struggling through life. So, if I say something and it doesn't resonate with you, just tell me and we'll talk about it, because I don't want to make any group of people watching these videos feel alienated. I know in my Mario Galaxy playthrough, I made a joke that I don't know if it would be that I don't know. I made a joke where I might have said something like, Allahu Akbar or something like that, and then I stopped and I was like, I kind of caught myself and I was like, well, someone who is Muslim might, take offense to that, or might, so I try to be introspective, like I was talking about in this video, and if I say or do something that's maybe, to reflect on it, and, if I'm really in the wrong about something, then like I like to think that I will apologize for it, and will, but yeah, I don't know. Some Muslim people would have thought that was funny, or but I don't know. I got to thinking about it. It was like, well, as a Christian, there's certain things that I really don't like to hear people say that are like common jokes, so I don't want to bring about more of that. So just stuff like that I try to be aware of. But let's just be patient with everybody, whatever content creators you watch, because people are going to slip up and make mistakes, because we're all human. But we have to just accept that, and not immediately chastise people and wish death upon them, and try to cancel and dox them and harass them and their family. And what's the adage about glass stone, or throwing glass stones, throwing stones when you live in a glass house or whatever. So I don't know, nobody's perfect. We're all just doing our best, and we all have our subjective valid experiences in life about why we think about things the way we do, why we believe the way that we do. And so I'm not going to tell you that just because you're more liberal minded than me, or you're more conservative, that you're a bad person, or that your worldview is wrong, because your worldview is not wrong. It's just different, because the circumstances that got you to where you are today are different than mine. No two people are the same. My experience growing up in, as a white person living in, the poverty-stricken mountains of Appalachia might be different from another white person who grew up in California. No two black people have the same lived experience. No two Asian people, But at the end of the day, I do think we have a lot more in common than we do differences. And sometimes maybe we get too fixated on celebrating differences and not enough time celebrating the commonality between all of us. So, I don't know what my point is anymore, but I love y'all. God bless. And I'm going to shut up now. Bye, guys.